Good morning and welcome here to our last day of the Automate Show. I'm Josh Ebert with A3, the Association for Advancing Automation, and I am honored today to have here with us Scott Klososky, the founding partner for FPOV. And this is kind of a little fanboy moment for me, so I'm going to let Scott tell you just a little bit real quick about what FPOV is, kind of what you guys are doing, and then we've got some exciting things to talk about.
Well, FPOV stands for Future Point of View, but we're about a 22-year-old advisory firm that helps organizations and leaders with where technology is going in the future, what type of strategies they should put together.
Awesome. Yeah. So I think I'd already told you, but I discovered you guys through just that organic method. My dad had actually seen some of your stuff, has done some work with you and shared it over. And so I hadn't heard anything about you, but tuned into that first, Q1 update you guys had done and just kind of immediately fell in love. So I, suckered you into being here, which I appreciate. So thank you very much. And I'm excited for this, early morning and this afternoon. You're going to be able to speak too, which I'll hopefully be able to jump over and catch that. So we've got some exciting things there, but I don't want to spoil any of that. So I think today, as an education person with an education background and working with our education team here, I'm really going to be looking at, some of the workforce topics, some of these scary questions that people are talking about. And I think one of the ones I want to start with is this idea that we constantly hear, especially as we work with students and future employers, future employees, all it's automation. What's it going to do to jobs? Are there going to be jobs for us? Are they all going to be taken because we'll be replaced by robots? What are your thoughts on that from the work you've done and the things you're seeing out there?
Well, it's a big question I get asked quite a bit when I'm giving talks. And, it used to just be robotics and what we would call machine intelligence, right, that people were worried about, replacing physical jobs. And then AI hit, and now we have the twins, right? We have the concerns about replacing the physical jobs, like at a factory or at a plant. And now we have the concerns about the white-collar jobs.
Right.
How many jobs might AI, take away? And look, because I get paid to look into the future and try to be accurate with predictions, I have zero concerns about the workforce being decimated, by all of this automation. I don't think we have anything in history that shows us that that's the case.
Sure.
I think every time we automate and we replace tasks human beings do, we create as many new tasks or new jobs. I think that's the first thing to understand. I think the second thing to understand is every time you automate, you improve the efficiency, the ability to build more, faster, with higher quality. And the world always wants more.
Yeah.
And so we're not seeing a bunch of layoffs from AI that are causing big problems in the workforce, for example. We're seeing some layoffs that are being related to AI, but we are creating more jobs than any amount that we are laying off. And so I just have zero concerns at a macro level.
Sure.
About the economy. At a personal level, where one person is laid off from a job that was highly repeatable or doing mundane tasks or some physical task, and maybe they can't upskill or reskill to something new because they choose not to.
Yeah.
Then I see at a personal level that could be a problem.
Sure. Well, you mentioned right there at the end, upskilling, reskilling, maybe a choice to not do that. So we had actually some speakers yesterday at our education, aspect today. It was our educator day, mostly at the university and college level. But I was really surprised to hear that a lot of them are saying that they're seeing in their computer science classes this big drop off. Some of them said 30% enrollment had dropped. And just to kind of give some definition or context, they said, for them, they're considering computer science, robotics technicians, AI, all those things kind of broadly falling under that topic. But do you have any thoughts on, why that's happening? If people are willing to upskill or reskill, why are they not enrolling like mad into these university courses to go and chase all these hot skills that we're hearing about?
Well, I think some of it is probably my fault. I'm in technology, been my entire career, and I did not go to a university. Okay. So I was self-taught when I was 18 and did well. And I and some other people like me are a bit prototypes from a generation or two before of in the technology space, not in every space, but in this space, there's a great ability to self-learn or to learn on the job in ways maybe you can't do with every other industry. But I think specifically with universities, it's a recipe of why they're seeing a lower amount of students gravitating towards these fields. I think more students can go to a career tech and do an intensive 1 or 2 year program and go right into the workforce, making the same amount of money they would with a 4-year, and so it's just more practical for them. Again, I think there are a number that are feeling like they can go right into the workforce and learn on the job for 4 years and be in a better spot than if they go through a university. And then the last thing is, I think there's a growing awareness that in technology it moves so fast that by the time you go and get a 4-year degree in any kind of technology field, by the time you get out, you're already halfway behind, right? People that are out in the market. So I think there's good reasons why we're seeing a lower amount of people at universities.
Yeah. And I think I know the answer, so I'm maybe setting you up for a bump set here. But so does that mean that universities and colleges are dead? Do you see them going to the wayside? As somebody who has a 4-year degree, I love my university experience. I want that for everyone to some degree, but I also, taught at career tech where a lot of students were in your situation. They were leaving right out, never going to university, being highly successful. So just out of curiosity, what do you see as the future of the kind of university post-high school landscape?
I don't think universities go away. I think they evolve. I mean, they have some fundamental problems right now, the costs, the loans, sometimes the amount of time it takes, maybe not being able to construct your own degree the way some people want to. So I think they have some friction. And so I think universities will have to evolve. I think maybe some of the really well-known high-brand universities won't be so high-brand anymore, and we might have some other universities that grow. So I just think that area evolves. And I think a lot of it is because we still need, for a lot of young people, we need a place and a way for them to be socialized into being an adult. If nothing else, something between 18 and, right, that helps them make that transition into being an adult. And universities are fantastic at playing that role. And then I also think it is called higher learning. So regardless of the market and the industries, I think universities provide a good place for higher learning. I just don't think they might be as dominant as they have been as far as being one of the only options when you get out of high school.
The vehicle may change, but ultimately there's different ways to get there. The destination for each person is still something beyond high school.
I agree. I love career techs. I love career techs. I think they play a great role in the world, and I think that they will grow in what they're able to do in 2 years. That can launch a young person 2 years faster than most universities will.
But one of the buzzwords that we were hearing in career tech, which is where I had most recently taught before coming to A3, you hear this a lot, and it's not exclusive to that level. I think colleges and universities are starting to get on board with this, but that idea of like credentialing, certificates, maybe in place of a formal degree, or even micro-credentialing is really popular. Do you see that playing a part into this kind of new education model that we might be envisioning?
I do, and I absolutely love this. I mean, I come out of right now a very edgy AI, robotics kind of world. You don't need 4 years of education to be good in this world. You need 2 years, and some micro-credentialing would be fantastic. So, yes, I love the concept of, hey, let's not overvalue a university degree, and let's not undervalue what you could do in a year or two of intensive learning.
Well, and something else we had talked about earlier that was also interesting from one of the speakers yesterday was this concept of this 7-to-1 ratio that he had thrown out. And he was talking about like all the different needs within any industry, not just, automation, whether this is medical, whether this is, science with NASA, any field basically has these roles where there's, one at the top level, whether you consider that someone like a PhD holder, right? Someone who's very conceptual, research, philosophical, they're sort of innovating and driving the future ideas. And then beneath them are maybe two people kind of at maybe it's like a 4-year college level. We're kind of making some stereotypes here, but they're the people that have to take those conceptual ideas and do something with them, invent the next product, the camera, the robot, or whatever, the engineers. And then the next level that I thought was most interesting, he talked about the 7, right? He called them technicians. I think it could vary, but the idea that those are almost like the doers, the ones that are, I think, my successful career tech students, the ones that had that, all the essential skills they needed at that point in their life to go out and start enacting and taking some of these ideas and really doing something with them. So, I mean, do you say that whole thing is loosely accurate based on what you see? You throw that to the wind, but does that structure seem to still exist? And do you have any thoughts on that?
I think that structure exists. I think it's different for different industries. You might say, oh, in the accounting space, maybe it's, 1 to 10.
Yeah.
Right. In manufacturing, it's a little bit different. But yes, I think generally that model is right. You have one very expansive thinker.
Yeah.
You have two that are absolute builders and can go get a lot of things done. And then you have a handful that are the people that have to operate, right? They have to operationalize something and keep it going. So I think that's very true.
Okay.
But the comment I would make is, I think there's an assumption that the 1 and the 2 come out of high level universities, and the 7 don't have a degree or maybe came through a career tech, and I think that's wrong. Okay. I think that. Sometimes the 1 and the 2 came up in a non-traditional way, not through a master's degree or a PhD. And I think of the 7, 3 of them have university degrees and are maybe not happy about it.
A big debt with those two.
Yeah. Right. And we have that problem in the world that people feel like after they get out of university, there's a certain amount of people that feel like they got taken.
Yeah.
Like, hey, wait, I thought my next step was a $150,000 a year job.
Right.
And I came out and I can only get let's say a $60,000 a year job.
But my debt didn't change accordingly.
Exactly.
Well, what do you, on that note of these people, whether it's those ones we just talked about, or even someone who was in high school, they took their first job and then they said, this isn't for me. What do we say to those people that need to quickly reskill or upskill to try to find a new role? Do you have pieces of advice for them? What can they really do to do that quickly in this rapidly changing field?
I think the good news for everybody that is young, coming into the business world now or young in the business world right now, the economy is very solid, here in the United States. We got very low unemployment, and it doesn't look like that's going to change anytime soon. So that means it's easy for people to pivot into another field. There are jobs in every field, right, that are available. I think the hardest thing I noticed about people pivoting and trying something different is their own barriers, right? Their own, I thought I was going to be. We had an intern. She went to get an accounting degree.
Yeah.
Was going to go get her CPA. Her dad was an accountant, told her she needed to be an accountant. She went to work for us. We had her doing graphic arts, doing some different things like creating slide decks and things like that. She loved it, especially working with all the AI tools to do it. And she changed. After 4 years of accounting, right before she went to take her CPA, she's like, nope. I'm a graphic artist. And she's talented at that and went on, to do that. She didn't have the mental barrier of, I have to be this, and I'm a failure if I'm not.
Yeah.
So that's a big thing I would tell anybody. I have pivoted a number of times in my career. I had no idea I would be doing what I'm doing now when I was 18 or in my 20s. I took what the market gave me, and I kind of went where I felt led to go.
Yeah.
And I took advantage of breaks along the way, and I feel very happy that I did that. Anyone else can do that.
Yeah. Well, it's something I don't think you explicitly said, but you alluded to that I'm a big fan of is that experiential learning, right? With your intern, that through that experience of just doing something, whatever the reason, she was kind of thrown into organically or by happenstance and finds the thing that she loves to do. And I wish we could find some way to recreate more of that. And I'm sure we could probably talk about that for another 15 minutes. But as I feared, we were going to run out of time. So I want to end with our last couple minutes on maybe a more actionable question. So here in just a little bit, we're actually going to have over 1,000 students, kind of middle school to high school, some collegiate students coming in to get to experience the last day of Automate through our Next Gen student tours. You seem like a very optimistic person from what I've gotten to know about you. What do you just say to them as they're thinking about this future and this, not in this career landscape, but just the world that's about to become from all this technology, from all this automation? Just what does it look like to them, and what advice maybe you give them?
All right, good question. And by the way, I am optimistic, but I'm not optimistic because I just have rose-colored glasses, right? I mean, I study history. I try to study trends. I study facts. There's a reason that I am optimistic about where things go, right? So for anybody who's young, right, coming up, I would say, first of all, you're coming up into a great world as far as a workplace.
Yeah.
What is going to be critical is for you to make a decision on what your relationship to technology is like.
Yeah.
And so, for example, if we take AI tools are going to allow you to amplify your skills for the rest of your career, the rest of your life.
Right.
If you choose to learn to use it and to integrate AI into what you do and into your life. Now, AI is just one type of technology, but I think I would just say, as a young person, I don't care what field you love, whether it's healthcare, or being an accountant, or a lawyer, or an engineer, it'll be important for you to really have a great relationship with technology, to co-work with technology from this point forward, to increase your capabilities and your power, your ability to get things done with technology. If you want to progress in the marketplace, if you do not like technology and you want to have a job that is just human, right? Human relationships, there will be some of those jobs as well, right? But you're going to have to go find those and specialize there. For everyone else, really consider your relationship with technology if you want to excel, the next 30, 40 years.
Okay. Well, I think that actually is right on the mark with time we've got. So I'm super appreciative of you being here today. I hope that everyone's able to get to your session here in a little bit and hear you speak some more. This is probably just a little teaser, I'm sure, of the main things you're going to talk about. But thank you again for being here, and thank you to everyone who tuned in. We'll be back in a few minutes.
Yeah, thank you, Josh.